All right, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are doing well. It is so good to be here. So good to see your faces and to see some new faces and some, I was going to say old faces, but that's not what I want to say. Faces I'm familiar with, let's put it that way. And if this is your first time here, so glad you're with us. I would love to meet you. I'll be hanging out right afterwards, right down in this area. And we actually have baptism today. And so I'd love to meet you. And then we're going to actually go outside and do baptism. We have 8 people that are getting baptized. So as soon as we're done today, we're all going to go outside. The way we do it, everybody gets around this horse trough. And that is filled with warm water. And we just celebrate what God is doing in the 8 people that are getting baptized. So you don't want to miss that. That's going to be at the end. Well, Kenneth and I, we've been married 28 years. 28 years. And we've known each other 30 years. So 3 decades we have known each other. And 2 decades we did not know each other. And so we have spent a lot of time together. But I really like this woman. How many know the difference between love and like? Like love because you have to, but like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean by that? Like, I really love her, but I really like her. And so we were last night we went out to dinner, and we just, let's talk about some highlights. Like what are some of the highlights of the last 28 years? And it was just fun celebrating them. What are some of the things that we had to work through? And we just had a fun little evening last night, and she asked me, she said, what's your favorite, best thing about 28 years of marriage? And I said, best friend. You're my best friend. I can truly say that, and it is true. It's not what husbands are supposed to say that, but for me, it's actually true. And I honestly, that is my favorite thing about my marriage and my wife, is she is truly my best friend. So I love you, and another 28. Let's go. We'll be 76 at that point, which is amazing, actually. So I have one quick, cool update that we're very excited to make you all aware of. Part of our vision of Studio, we have so many things that we've dreamt about from day one, and our dreams continue to grow. And one of them is kind of a broader idea, and then there's different dimensions within it. And it's this idea, we asked ourselves this question: in 5 years from now, would Greenville be able to tell if we were here or not? Would the city be able to say we existed or never existed? And the reason that's a great question to ask ourselves personally as well is, what kind of impact are we having outside of our church community? What we do in our community is vital, essential, it's important, but it's also important to recognize that it's not meant to stay there. It's actually meant to go out into the city in all aspects of life. And so oftentimes when we talk about we want to touch our city, impact our city, the most common thought is, well, we do outreach. We do food programs, we help in different ways, and we serve other organizations and ministries that are doing amazing things, all the way from feeding the poor, clothing the naked, and all those types of things, which are essential and important and very clear biblically. Jesus said, take care of the poor, take care of the widow, take care of the destitute, and we are only going to expand that. So thankful for the people that are pioneering that, and for Jess specifically helping to get Kindness Department going, and just really proud of what's happening there. And our Poe Mill skate park cleanup got canceled because the weather was a little bit wet. But we're going to put another date on the calendar, so keep your ears open for that. But I wanted to add, when we think about city, we have to understand there are different dimensions to a city. It's not just helping the broken, the poor, etc. It's actually there's other aspects of a city, and one of those areas has to do with being a part of the conversation around entrepreneurial incubators. Actually being a participant individually and as a community. And a couple of years ago, we did a Founders and Creators course with 8 weeks, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But one of the things we have dreamt about from day one is that we would participate, create, or something around markets, that we would actually facilitate markets. Now, farmers markets, all different kinds of markets, but they are incubators for entrepreneurs and creatives and makers to create stuff and then sell it. And so we are actually launching a market out of Studio called Mill Street Market in Taylors. And there it is. And it is October 25th. We're starting there, and we have some one more in the future. And we're very, very excited about it. And if you didn't know, Jess Mullen was actually part of the brainchild behind the Travelers Rest Farmers Market. If you've not been there, it's one of our favorite markets in the area. And so Jess is obviously a part of our team now, and she is helping. She knows how to do this. This is something she does in her sleep. She does when she's awake, and she does in her sleep. And so she's going to get this off the ground. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. It is a part of our vision. It's an extension of what we want to do in this region and in this area. And what we're also doing is calling for vendors. I know a lot of you are part of our Christmas market. Maybe some of you are actually a part of other market, but we're actually looking for vendors, not just in studio, but in the area. And so all the information there, scan that QR code, and you can get more information there. But we're excited. October 25th will be our first market, and we're going to go from there. So pretty cool, huh? I love it. And then how about that song? If you came in later, the second song, our songwriting community wrote that song. And we're going to be, over the next couple of months, be introducing new songs because they've been hard at work. And that song in particular, I've been listening to it for the last month when I got a little sneak peek, and I told Reva, I said, I like this one a lot. And the other ones are great too. So anyway, great job, team, and very excited to have songs and sounds coming out of this house. All right, take a breath here. Just to make some eye contact. It's good to see you. There's so much I want to talk about. It's so difficult to be constrained. And because there's just so much beauty going on, and it's exciting. It's exciting what God has done, He's doing, and what He wants to do. And are there any Canadians in here? There's not one Canadian in here. Well, never mind then, I guess. No, Jeremy's a Canadian. I was in Montreal the last couple of days speaking at a conference. A friend of mine was putting on a conference, and their main speaker had to back out because of an emergency. So he called me up a little over a week ago and said, would you be able to fill in for the main speaker? I said, of course. It's what friends do. So I flew up there real quick. And I just want to say this about Canadians. I didn't realize how wild they were. I don't know what it is. Somewhere in my head, I thought they're just chill people. But they are probably chill, but they're definitely wild. And so I wanted to shout out to all the Canadians, where you been? We need some of your wildness. So anyway, Jeremy Gagnon, we'll have to get him and others. And so what I want to talk about today is I want to take some time to remind us who we are, what we are, and why we are. I want to talk about who we are, what we are, and why we are. I don't know if you recognize this, but oftentimes what you're most familiar with, you take lightly or take it for granted. And for me, I'm just reflecting on this particular week because we're celebrating our anniversary. And so, of course, you just reminisce, you think, and you ponder. And I found myself telling myself this: don't take your wife lightly. Don't take her for granted. And I know her very well, and she knows me very well, but yet there's still so much I have no clue about her. There was a great book out. It says, What Men Know About Women. It's a really thick book, and then when you open it, all the pages are empty. And I've been telling myself what I'm most comfortable and familiar with, I don't want to ever take it lightly or for granted. And if I can take that same thought and move it over to the church, move it over to studio, move it over to this community. I don't want us to take lightly what's happening here. Not just on Sundays, but in our homes, in our lives, and what's happening outside of this space. I want to take some time to just acknowledge what's happening is beautiful. It's something worth just to slow down for a moment instead of think about what should happen or why isn't that happening. Let's take some time today and just think about what is happening that we should be celebrating. Because sometimes we don't realize what we have until we don't have it anymore, which is not what we want to experience. I don't want to live a life so far ahead that I forget what's actually happening. And so today I want us to slow down at the church emotionally and mentally and put aside our opinions and expectations and just take a moment and celebrate what's actually happening in what we call studio, but bigger conversation is the body of Christ. What God is doing in our lives. When I look around this room, I see so many stories and conversations that I've had the last handful of years, and the stories are all over the map. But one common denominator is God is at work. And I tell you what, when you're in my position and you're working with people, the X factor is God. I can give you the greatest talks from the deepest parts of my heart. I can articulate them the best that I could articulate them. I can come up with amazing stories and illustrations. We can create a culture and environment. We can put our excellence into everything we do, but if God's not in it, it's just a great program. And the evidence of God being in it when lives are being changed, when hearts are being healed, when imaginations are exploding, when marriages are being restored, relationships are getting healed, wounds that have lasted way too long that determined how you did your life are no longer determining your life. That's when the Spirit of God is evident in our life. And I just look around the room and I'm just keenly aware of the stories that are being written in this room. And I just want to take a moment and just acknowledge this is what we do is essential and it's important. It's vital. It's something that we should never take lightly. It's something that we should celebrate, and it's something that we should give our lives to. Because in this room, in our relationship, God is healing minds. He's healing bodies. He's healing relationships. He's healing the heart. He's healing all these different things. And not only is he healing you, he's actually giving you dreams and imaginations for the future. He's causing you to think in ways you've never thought before. Someone told me a couple of weeks ago over coffee and said, I've gotten smarter since I've come to the studio. I don't know if I've ever heard that compliment before. I thought, well, good. Could I actually care deeply about intelligence? And they said, yeah, I feel like I've just gotten smarter. And I was like, all right, that's my favorite testimony of the year right there. So hopefully some of you are getting a little bit smarter, or your intelligence is growing, expanding. But my bottom point is this, is that I want you to just slow down for a moment today and just acknowledge what God is doing. Whether you've been here, this is your first time, or you're just loosely connected, or you're deeply connected, wherever you fit on that spectrum, that you just acknowledge the power of God in your life and what he does. This is the sacred space. And I'm not just referring to this room, I'm referring to the community. It's a sacred space. Whenever we travel abroad, especially Europe, when you can see these beautiful old cathedrals, some of the most famous cathedrals in the world, we've had the privilege to go into and just see the sheer beauty and brilliance and excellence and craftsmanship and engineering and architecture, all the way to these little small cathedrals in these remote areas and different parts of Europe that are just quiet. And every time I go into these, they're kind of eerily quiet. I'm not sure are you supposed to make any noise in these spaces? And if you've never been there, it's just everyone's very quiet. And I respect that. But most of those cathedrals have become tourist attractions. And so whenever I go into these spaces and people are taking pictures and looking at the craftsmanship and how they told the story of the gospel, how they told the story of creation through marble and stone and wood, it's profound. But some of these ones that are more tourist attractions, sometimes I like to go sit in a pew, if they allow you. And I'll sit in that pew and I'll think to myself, somebody in the last 200-300 years was sitting in this spot and God met them there. That God said, I'm going to meet that person right in that wooden pew. And people came into that room hoping they would encounter something transcendent, that they would experience something beyond self. And trying to look at these sacred spaces, I thought, this is our sacred space. It's not as tall as I would like it. You know, we don't have stone walls, we got brick walls. And we have the insanely loud heating and air conditioning that squeaks and rattles and comes on at all the wrong times. And the best feature about our sacred space is we have these big steel poles that go down the center of the room. That's what makes this space sacred. I know some of you can't wait till we don't have those anymore, but let's be honest, we're going to miss them someday. Can we put some steel poles in every room? I'm going to put some in my office, just put a couple down there. And some of you, your chiropractic expenses have increased since you've come to studio because you have to look around the post for 30 minutes. One of the reasons why I walk back and forth and front and back is to help relieve the pressure on your neck. I'm being serious. Because some of you are like, you're going, oh man, I held my neck too long. Especially when you get older, you're like, I got to keep it straight. But in all seriousness, this is our sacred space. This is where I've seen God meet with you. And I know in the future God's going to meet with others of you. And that's important to acknowledge and celebrate. No matter what format of preferences, God still likes to meet people in these kinds of spaces. So when you come in this room, I want you to think, remember, this is the sacred space. This is the space where God has met with people. As I look around this room, I think of all the stories. You know, Peter Wright, right here, just launched his business this last week. And I want to take a moment because this has been a dream in both their hearts. And we did the Founders and Creators 8-week entrepreneur course a couple of years ago. And several businesses have come out of it, and this is one of them right here. And I had the privilege to go see his shop this week and what he's launched. And so when I look around the room, I go, oh, a business was launched because of what God's doing in this space. And then look over here, Deetra just finished her master's. She just turned in her paper and has her master's. Good job. Seriously, good job. And I know others of you, I don't even know your stories. And then I look around the room and I see other people that are going through some of the most unimaginable tragedies right now. They've lost a child, or they've lost a relative, or lost a dear friend. And we get the privilege to walk with people in those spaces. And that's one thing I love about Studio is we do well. When someone is going through something unimaginable, we don't move away, we actually move in. And that's beautiful. That's something that we must always celebrate. I just want to take a moment to celebrate that. This last week, we took Misha and Odie. For those of you that don't know, they were with us for a year here at Studio. To pastors from Switzerland. They took a year off to come and to learn a culture, learn for Studio values and DNA. And we fell in love with them. They fell in love with us. Felt like they became a part of our family and staff and team and everything. And many of you, they become good friends with you. And so their 1-year visa was up. And so they're going back to kind of continue doing what they've been doing in this church. And we took them to Charlotte this week. And what we did is we took our whole team up. We have 2 vehicles. And we drove them up to Charlotte Airport, dropped them off, said goodbye, and sent them on the way. And then we had planned to stay in Charlotte for most of the day, just to explore, do coffee shops, and eat some food. And the end of the day, we had scheduled to have desserts at a place called Restoration Hardware. And if you don't know about Restoration Hardware, it's a really nice furniture place that Candace and I just like a lot. And they have a gallery in Charlotte. It's like 3 stories. It's probably at least 10,000 square feet of gallery showroom of all of their furniture. If you've never been there, I'd recommend it. It's fun. Well, on the very top, they have this really cool rooftop restaurant. Glass ceiling and fountains and all the furniture, Restoration Hardware. And Candace and I have gone up there a few times and taken our kids and said, let's get the staff there. So we took them there. And so there are 8 of us. And we're sitting on 2 couches with a table in the middle, very relaxed. And we ordered a handful of desserts, which were so good. You've had it? Oh, I thought somebody said so good. I mean, it was so good. Shayna said, because you were there. I thought, you've been there? Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And we had the desserts. Well, as the waiter's coming up, he's getting us our water and kind of getting us settled. And he had this look on his face, and I think he was trying to figure us out. You could kind of see that look. And then he went away, and then he came back to take our order. And kind of in the middle of that, he comes up to us, and he says, what are you guys? Like, what is this? Like, what's going on here? Like, what is this? And what do you guys do? And I said, before I answer what do we do, I want to know what you think we do. And he goes, you guys look like you're in video, TV, or media. And we're all like, yeah, all right. You know, that's cool. I love that. And then before I told him what we did, I said, why do you think we're in media, and video? And he said, well, you guys look like you're from all different backgrounds. And we sat there, the team were like, that's awesome. That's exactly what we're trying to do with Studio. We're trying to create an environment where people come from different backgrounds, but our commonality is Him. Our singularity is God. And it was so encouraging to us, because sometimes when you're building, you always want to be at a point in the future, but you often forget where you actually are. And so for us, it was a really beautiful moment. And then he says, so what do you guys do? This is always a fascinating moment with people. And I said, well, we're actually a church staff. And we're a church team of pastors and so on and so forth. And you know that face that's kind of a mixture of huh to You know that face? It was a mixture of huh and right in one. And I just said, hey, the reason why you acknowledge we're all from background, because that's the kind of community we're creating and building. That's what we dream about. So long story short, he goes away, and he still had the face on. And he served us well. And one thing I've learned in life, a good tip goes a long ways. And so I tipped him well. Well, we all get back to Charlotte, and he got off work. We didn't know this, of course. He got off work, and he looked us up online and sent an email through his personal email on our website and just said, I had such joy and delight in serving the studio team today at Restoration Hardware. It was just an amazing email. And we were like, high five, everybody. And it was just this. But I want you to understand something. That is indicative that what we're building is beautiful. I want you to make that personal for you. It's actually true that we don't quite fit the mold. And we don't quite fit what's going on here, who are you, what we're doing. And I just want you to know that's by design. It's by design that we can actually have a singular thing that binds us, and that's God. It's following Jesus. And we learn to do life together. And we learn to do this. I want you to understand that what we're building here is intentional. And it's a good reminder of what we're trying to do. As a kid, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember, but I don't know if they still make Cracker Jacks anymore. Do they still make Cracker Jacks? Okay. If you don't know what Cracker Jacks are, it's a little box that had caramel corn in it, but they used to put a little toy in it. How many remember those little toys? And so my favorite toy was a little hologram card. You pull it out, a little hologram card, and you could just look at it it would be a picture of something, and you look at it you change the angle, and it would change the image. Oh, I didn't see that now. Now I see that. And I thought studio is a lot like that. Depending on where the light hits, you see something different. But I also want to take it a step farther. Without light, holograms are pointless. And if I could take it even a step farther, I believe God is actually shining light on us, and you're seeing different aspects of this community and this church. And I think that's important to recognize, is that that's what's happening. Light doesn't only set you free. Light actually reveals who you are. It's always fascinating telling people what we do for work, or what we do as far as being pastors. And I'm going to deviate for a second. Many years ago, I got kicked out I was speaking at a kids camp in Alaska. And I was the main speaker twice a day for 5 days. The only speaker. And my friend was putting on this camp, and he flew me up there, and I had some concerns. I said, are you sure? Because he worked for a denomination in this one state in Alaska. And I was coming to be the speaker at this camp. And I said, I'm a little nervous because I don't know how the denomination is going to feel about it. He said, oh, no, we're ready. Come on up. We're ready to go. I said, okay. So I flew up there, and so long story short, within 2 days, I got kicked out. I know, how could you kick me out? I mean, and so 2 days, I finally said, I'm going to go. My friend felt horrible because he assured me it was the right time to have me. And obviously, it was not the case. The problem was, the rumor that were coming out of this camp made its way to the district office. And then parents were coming to pick up the kid to take them away from camp. So my friend, it was a little bit of a firestorm. I'll just put it that way. It's what you see in social media, that's what was happening. It was just like, it just wouldn't stop. And I finally woke up on the third morning and said, hey, I'm going to go home. This isn't working. I did everything to try to solve it and fix it and whatnot. And so he's like, I'm so sorry. He said, no worries. It's all on you. I'm going to get out of here. Problem was, I had to get a ride from the camp to the closest little town. And then from the town, about an hour-and-a-half drive to Anchorage Airport. And he couldn't give me a ride because there was such a firestorm of all kinds of stuff. And so a mom had showed up to pick up a daughter to take her away. So I had to go up there and say, hey, can you give me a ride? Like, I'm the reason that she came to take her daughter away. So I said, can you give me a ride? And she gave me a nod. And so that was a really awkward 15-minute car ride. I'm just sitting there. And while I'm on the way, I'm trying to figure out how do I get from this little town to Anchorage Airport. If you've never been to Alaska, it's remote. Everything's remote. So I look up Bob's Taxi Service. I said, that worked, Bob's Taxi Service. So I look it up, and I give the guy a call, and he said, yeah, meet me by this grocery store. And I'm in a Ford Expedition like a maroon color. I said, great. So I get there, thank the mom, sorry, and I get out and I grab my suitcase and I find this Ford Expedition and I go over there and I knock on the window and this very large gentleman named Bob gets out of the car. And he said, yeah, just throw your suitcase in the back. This wasn't like a professional looking situation. This was just some janky Ford Expedition covered in mud. It's clearly Alaska. And so I opened the back of this Ford Expedition, and I can still see it to this day. The entire back of this Ford Expedition had bags and bags of dog food all the way to the roof. I'm like, dear Lord, how many dogs did this guy have? Dogs. And so I get my suitcase on the top, and so I get inside the Expedition. I'm in the front seat, and we're just driving. I'm driving. I have my map out to make sure we're actually going to Anchorage. I'm like, you know. And so we're driving, and about an hour in, but for the next hour, he's telling me how he's evaded the IRS for years. He's like, oh yeah, I did this, I've done this, and clearly illegal activity. And he is just pouring his heart. I have that effect on people. I get around them, and they just open up their soul and tell me all that's wrong. And I'm just sitting there trying to figure out what just happened at this camp, and now I got Bob pouring out his illegal heart on me, and then we get around this bend, and there's this beautiful valley. It's in Alaska, and mountains. And he said, oh, yeah, back there, I have a secret marijuana farm. This was before it was legal. And I'm like, what is my life right now? There's this guy sitting there, and an hour in, he goes, so what do you do? And I thought, well, this will be fun. I said, I'm a pastor. His eyes he just froze. He no longer was warm. He was just froze. And I said, bro, you're fine. You're good. I'm not going to go tell the cops or anything. And he relaxed. And so, anyways, what I want to talk about too, I want to talk about a conversation that my wife and I had with my grandma years ago, my late grandma. The Johnson side. We have like 70 people in that family. And whenever we get together for gatherings, it's huge and long and a lot of work. And my wife asked her this question. It's amazing. Look at your family. It's huge. And it's a lot of work. And how does this happen? And my grandma replied with this. She said, it's a lot of work, and it doesn't just happen. It requires everyone to participate. And Thanksgiving in particular, before we moved out here, we obviously were there every year. My responsibility was peeling potatoes at Thanksgiving. And so I show up, have my potato peeler, any potato peelers in here? And that was my job. I go peel potatoes. My uncle and a couple of my cousins, we sit down and we have competitions. Who could peel it the fastest? And then who could peel it perfect? And that was our deal. And then by the time we ate our meal, I remember looking around the table and, well, you like those mashed potatoes? You're welcome. I did that. I help to build what you're eating. And I want to say something today for us as the church. I want you guys to take more pride and ownership in what God is doing here. I'm not saying I need you to. I want you to. I want you to recognize that this is our house. This is a culture that we are all building and contributing to. We are not here today because no one did anything. We're here today because a lot of people contributed. It might be a brick in the wall. It might be a whole wall. It might be the floor. But contribution is what builds culture, is what builds houses. And I want to encourage you that you should definitely walk around with a sense of like, I'm helping this. I'm helping this thing to go. I'm creating a space, whether you clean bathrooms, which there's people I want to shout out. You clean our bathrooms. They're back there every week. It's the most unglamorous job, but how many are thankful we get to go to a clean bathroom? All the way to setting up chairs, all the way to helping with our kids, running our young adult, like last night. I mean, there's so many things. I'm not going to cover everybody, and I apologize for that. But I just want to say this, that I want you to participate in what it takes for a place like this to happen. And one of our challenges is sustainability. It's a real dynamic because this place is a hospital for some people in this room. You're like, man, I just need a place to get well. I just need a place to not feel any pressure. I'm like, come on in, be a part of this family, and let's see you get well. And I've been in so many interactions with some of you. And some of you are in a space where you're not in a hospital anymore. You're in a physical therapist. Like, okay, I'm healed, but now I got to get that body part moving again. I just need to get that part of my life. And others of you are here because you got an imagination that's exploding, and you're starting businesses, you're getting degrees, you're building families, you're thinking about cities, you're doing. So we're all here for different reasons. But I just want you to know that I want you to walk in this space and be a part of Studio with a sense of pride and ownership. Because that's what makes the difference in the quality of a place. And what we're trying to do, in all honesty, what we're trying to do is create a sustainable way for people to participate. And our goal is that we actually would have enough people contributing so that way a small group is not burning out. And so if you're here today, and I just so many, I'm looking on Zoom, some of you are doing so many amazing things, and if you feel any guilt or shame coming from me, that is not what I'm communicating. I just want to ask that you consider participating in a way of taking ownership for this house, for what God is doing in a greater way, whatever that may be. Are you guys with me? I have found in my own house, I'm going to wrap up in just a minute here, and we're going to head outside and celebrate some people getting baptized. I have found whenever I have a love-hate relationship with yard work. I have a lot to manage at my house. It's just a lot. A lot of grass, a lot of weed eating. It's 3 to 6 hours a week, especially in the summer when the weather's awesome. And I have a World War III of emotions inside of me every time I do yard work. I'm like angry, agitated, frustrated, and I'm just like, and so I just distract myself with music and podcasts and just try to get myself out of that spiral of, what did my life come to? But when I'm done, I walk around with a strut. I'm like, I did that. I get my wife, say, hey, come outside. Are you not entertained? Look at these lines. Look how straight those lines are. Look at the edging. The edging is, you see concrete and craft and a little space in between. I mean, I love that. And I hate doing it, but when I'm done, I'm so proud of it. So I just want you to know, sometimes what you're most proud of is not the most joyous process. So it's not always about like, if it brings me joy. It's about, no, I want to build something that cost me something because that elevates how proud I am of it. Like building family doesn't just happen. It's so much work. It's exhausting, but you walk around with like, yep, oh yeah. I know God's the important one in here, but we actually help to participate in people encountering God. That's the pride and ownership I want you to recognize, and what I want to pull you even deeper in. So it's your time, it's your finances, it's your resources. All of that is what requires to build a church that we all could be proud of, and a church where people's lives are changed. And we're a waiter in Restoration Hardware will go, I don't know what this is. I'm glad you don't, because I hope this is another representation of God that you may have never experienced.